Welcome to Slayer the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. And on today's episode, another in my series of heavy thoughts. This is where I take a moment to share with you what's been on my mind lately. And what's been on my mind lately is the idea of when is a band not that band anymore. I wasn't planning on making this video. This was a topic that I had on my list of things to do. But with the recent Pantera reunion, I thought that I should talk about it, and it got me thinking of this topic, which I have been thinking about even before the Pantera reunion, because let's face it, a lot of these bands now, they're getting up in age. Sadly, some or many original members aren't with us anymore. Bands, they don't get along anymore, so it's very rare to find a band that's out there touring with original members, or mostly original members. And it begs the question of when is that band not that band anymore? And if I want to cut right to the chase, I think there is no right answer, and it's up to the individual person, the individual consumer, and what is important to them. And we'll get into, here as I go along here, some of the things that are important to me for it to still be the band. But I made a video not too long ago about singers whose voices aren't what they used to be, and should they stop performing? Are they taking advantage of the fans? And a lot of people commented and said, hey, if people are paying for it, who cares? They should just keep going. Well, the problem with that, and I think it applies here too with the band thing, we are people who are very into this. We're very informed. We go to news sites, we go to Wikipedia, we go to forums, we follow YouTube channels, we discuss this with friends. We're very into it. There's a lot of people that are just casual fans. They have hair metal things set on their Pandora radio. They grew up with it. They don't follow this stuff closely. They just see, hey, this band from the 80s is playing at my county fair or at the casino near me. I'm going to go see them. And I know this because this has happened where people that I know who are like this then come to me and say, hey, I went to see blank and they didn't sound at all like what I remembered them sounding like. And then I have to explain, well, it's because the only original member in the band is the drummer or the bass player, and then oh, okay, I thought the singer looked different, and I don't fault them for it. They're just casual fans. And I guess you could say, well, people need to be more careful. But let's face it, these promoters, they know that with the band name, and when you have the original name, it sells money. And sells tickets. That's why bands fight with each other, go to court. Look at Pink Floyd battling over the Pink Floyd name. I mean, there's tons of bands that have done this. That's why you had these weird situations like Bobby Blotzer's Rat, Stephen Pearcy's, where they're sort of using the name. Jeff Tate with Queensryche had like a thing for it. It gets really confusing because there are legalities involved. Now, with the Pantera situation, clearly Phil and Rex, the bass player, are allowed to use the name, because if they didn't, this would have been shut down in the blink of an eye if they legally couldn't use the name. So there's something there that legally allows them to use the name. What gets trickier with the Pantera situation, and this is true with a lot of bands, I mentioned that as time moves on, we sadly lose a lot of these musicians and artists. With the Pantera situation, Dime was tragically killed. Vinnie Paul also passed away. They're not here anymore to voice their opinions on this. And Vinnie, before he passed away, seemed to be pretty clear that he didn't want to do a Pantera reunion, that he wanted to just let it go. He wasn't interested in a Pantera reunion. So I think that makes this all the more sensitive. And that's a factor with a lot of these bands, that move on. Quiet Riot, Kevin DuBro's not here anymore. Frankie Banali's not here anymore. But let's face it, just as I mentioned, the band name draws tickets. These guys, they want to make money. And if they feel like that they are, in any band, that they've been a contributing part of the band, like Phil and Rex were, that they have just as much a right to go out there and use the band name. And that's what it always comes down to with these bands, is these guys feel, hey, I was a key part of this band. I have just as much a right to use the name as anybody else and go out there and make money off of it. Now, I think the best case situation is when you do something that you're using the band name, but you're acknowledging that it's not the original band name. Like when Queen did Queen, I don't remember how they phrased it, Queen featuring Paul Rodgers or Queen with Paul Rodgers. So it acknowledged that here's Queen, Brian May, Roger Taylor, a big part of the band, but Without Freddie, it didn't feel right going out just calling it Queen. Without the four guys, it's just not Queen anymore. Well, John Deacon wasn't there when they did these things, but without Freddie, it just wasn't Queen anymore. So they acknowledged it that way. You sometimes see these bands do that. So and so featuring, what is this in Great White, like Jack Russell's Great White or something like that. It just in a lot of ways I think adds to the confusion, especially when there's Great White touring and Jack Russell's Great White and Bobby Blotzer's Rat and Rat. All these things going on, and the average person, they don't know what's going on. They just see this and they're like, Rat. They got round and round, lay it down. They don't know what's going on. So sometimes I think that can be confusing. For me, it also is important is the band a nostalgia act, or are they putting out new music? Skid Row continued to put out new music after Sebastian Bach left, and the primary songwriting was done by not Sebastian Bach. The other guys, I think Rachel Bolan, and I don't know, the other guys in the band. So to me, that's important. Are they out there still making new music? Queensryche without Jeff Tate, they are still out there making new music. So that makes a difference for me. Now, if you're going out there as a nostalgia act, just playing old songs, that's a little different. I feel like you need to have key members involved in the band. And who are what do you consider to be the key members? Well, I don't know. I guess that's up on an individualistic basis, what's important for you. I would say a lot of times it's the singer. The singer is a big part of it. The lead guitar player, look at the Van Halen situation. I mentioned earlier, the Queen featuring Paul Rodgers, there was talk about a Van Halen thing going out, but it was going to be sold as like a tribute thing. Okay, that's different. If they say, hey, this is a tribute to Eddie Van Halen and to the Van Halen legacy, that's different. But, clearly a band like Van Halen, Eddie is so important. You could say the same thing with Pantera, though. Dime, Dime is the Eddie Van Halen of a generation. He's a very, very important part of the sound, as was Vinnie Paul, his drum playing and his drum sound. A lot of times, again, it comes down to the singer or somebody who's just maybe a very visual part of the thing. Like, look at AC/DC. Malcolm Young was a huge part of the songwriting and the vision of the band, but the average person doesn't know that. When they think of AC/DC, they think of Angus, and they think of Brian or Bon. And, look when Axl was in the band, when Brian couldn't sing anymore. I mean, that was kind of a temporary thing, but if they had continued with Axl, would it have still been AC/DC? I don't know. Maybe if they had made new music. But again, it's a slippery slope. Quiet Riot. At this point, it's only Rudy Sarzo as an original member. Yes, I know there were the two Japanese ones, Kelly Garney, Randy Rhoads, but I'm talking about Metal Health. That's really when the general public discovered Quiet Riot. Without Kevin Dubrow, without Frankie Banali, it's a hard sell for me. I saw Stephen Pearcy in a video. It's just him. I couldn't tell if it was Bobby Blotzer or not. I don't know. I don't know if it would have made a difference for me. No Warren DeMartini, no Robin Crosby. A little bit of a tough sell for me. Don't think I would pay for that, but if it was playing somewhere for free at a fairgrounds or something around a festival bill, maybe I would check it out. Guns N' Roses with just Axl. He's a huge part of that sound, but so is Slash, so is Duff, so was all the guys in the band. So again, it's tough. It's just a thing that you have to weigh, and I think it's personal too. If Axl Rose is Guns N' Roses is all about Axl Rose to you, then that's great. Then maybe you're just okay with a Guns N' Roses that only has Axl in it. And I know they've gone back together with Duff and Slash and all that stuff now. And I have to put myself on the spot. Would I want to go? Let's say Ozzy and Iommi got together and went out as Black Sabbath. Geezer retired, Bill's health, can't let him do it. Would I go see that? Yeah, I would go see that. For me and Black Sabbath, they've had many different singers. It's all about Iommi for me in that situation. Same thing with Judas Priest, a little trickier. We don't have KK, we don't have Glenn. Rob's there, Scott Travis, Ian Hill. When does that reach a point? Let's say Scott Travis retires or something. I mean, again, when is the band not that band anymore? I don't know. So to sum it up, I don't really have an answer, and I think it's just up to the individual and what in your gut feels right and what your willing to go see. I mean, maybe a lot of the people that are going to go see Pantera, they know that, okay, we're missing Dime, we're missing Vinnie Paul Abbott, that it's not really Pantera. I don't know, is it misleading people to see the Pantera name? And then people, I would think that everybody would know that Dime is not with us anymore and Vinny is not with us anymore. But, again, these are really tricky things, but I understand why these artists feel like, hey, I have a right to go out and perform my legacy also. So no real answer for you on this one. I think it's all up to the individual. So let me know what you think. Put it down in the comments down below. When is it not that band for you anymore? What does it take? Who needs to be in the band for you to still consider it that band? All right, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. Till we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.